Hi, it's Paul from Model Builder International. What we're going to look at today is a new kit from Flyhawk. This is the 1700th HMS Prince of Wales. This is the deluxe edition with the photo etch and the resin. And what we're also going to look at as well, which are available for this kit, is the wooden decks and the masking set. So if you want to get notified of future videos, don't forget to click the button down there. You know you want to click it. And let's go have a look. Let's have a look, see what's inside the box. So as I said in the intro, you can see this is HMS Prince of Wales, December 1941, which is when she was sunk. This is the deluxe edition with extra brass photo etch and resin. Obviously those bits will be missing from the normal version. This is a full hull kit. A couple of QR codes on there, those usually go to shops. Interestingly, on this side here, you'll see there's looks to be a couple of future releases. The DK and the Königsberg in 1700th, which I think has only been done in resin before. So that'll be I think the first time that that's been done in plastic. If you know different, drop a note in the comments. And the Bismarck, which is coming along as well. That's the number is 1132 for the Bismarck. This is Königsberg is 1125, and this kit is 1117. So they're probably maybe a little bit off yet, but we'll see. It'd be nice to, especially to see the Königsberg. As I said, this seems to be the biggest box. Well, this is the biggest box I've seen Flyhawk use so far, which I think makes sense because it's the biggest ship they've done so far. Prior to this, Flyhawk's biggest thing might be some of the World War I ships they've done. Anyway, let's have a look inside. And we get, so there's a picture of the image on the front cover. This is taken off a photograph of, this is her arriving in Singapore in 1941. And some background on the back, a short history of the ship. She wasn't in service that long. Basically, she entered service in 1941 and was sunk in 1941, really short life, but she certainly saw a lot of action during that, more than most, in chasing the Bismarck, obviously. And inside, let's look, we've got photo etch sheets. There's one there. And two more on there. We'll have a closer look at those. Got 3 bags of parts. Instructions in the usual Flyhawk manner. We'll go through these step by step. There's 2 complete sheets on there, so it's quite a lot there. Everything seems to be individually bagged. There's a bag of sprues. Another bag there. Those with got the turrets in there. With a bag of small parts. Get more resealable bags. Lots of bags of parts. Decals sheet, obviously small. This one's heavy. This one has the resin and the barrels in it. Metal plate. Presumably it looks like it might be a waterline version if you want to build it. Let's have a look in here. Just get the box a second. Yeah, so it looks like you can do waterline one if you want, or a full hull. Right, so I'll be back in a minute. I shall open up some of these bags and see what we got in here. Okay, so I've taken all the sprues out the various plastic bags, and there's quite a lot of stuff here. So let's look at the main deck. It's protected at the front end, lots of decking detail. I'll put close-up photographs of all these will be on the website. The link is underneath this video. But all in all, it looks quite impressive. There's nice detail on the side of the ship, even underneath as well. That's gonna, roughly the size of it. And there's hollow funnels, and if you can see that, I'll make sure you can see it on the photographs. Some nice detail on the, fine detail on the turrets. Lots and lots and lots of small parts. Was there 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, about 20 sprues of various shapes and sizes. Some of the bigger parts of the superstructure come together in their own bag. Some of the smaller sprues are tied together. These are the protected sprues with the raised edges to protect the small parts in the middle. So there's lots and lots of nice detail here. This is the one, the bigger one with some of the masts on it. So basically a lot of the smaller sprues are in resealable plastic bags. Some of the bigger sprues are in, it's actually quite thick plastic bags, not a flimsy plastic bag. So everything made it from China to Canada just fine, so I don't see why. So everything should stay perfectly okay inside the box. Right, so let's have a closer look at the kit. I'll take photographs of everything and go through step by step and have some close-up looks at some of the parts. Okay, brief bit of background on the Prince of Wales. Not that there's much. She was in service a really short time. She was ordered in 1936, originally going to be called King Edward VIII, but he abdicated, so they changed the name before she was even on the slips to HMS Prince of Wales. Launched in May 1939. She actually first saw action while she was still in dry dock in August 1940, being subject to a German air attack. Obviously she was part of the hunt for the Bismarck and was there with the Hood when the Hood was sunk. And then she was sunk on the 10th of December 1941 by the Japanese. Her and the HMS Repulse were the first capital ships to be sunk solely by air power on the open sea, which was obviously a taste of things to come. And that's pretty much it. Another little quirk. Her motto is actually in German. It's Ich dien, which is German for I serve. So, and that's it. Okay, quick overview of what's in the box. On Flyhawk's side it says there's 49 plastic parts, but they count a single sprue as one plastic part. I spent a bit of time counting them all. There's 602 plastic parts in this kit, which is quite a lot. The extra bits you get for the special edition, there's 223 PE parts, 53 metal parts and 60 resin parts that make it into the special edition. So it's a huge increase over the part count for the Tamiya kit, which is the only real, the only 1/700th scale model of this kit that I can find any details about. So that being said, let's start going through the sections one at a time of the build and just see what the parts look like. We'll start off with step 1, the first of the 15 steps, and I'll stick up some images of parts as we go through where appropriate. Your first choice is, are you going to build a waterline ship or the full hull version? You can do either from this kit, and starts off as reasonably normal. Put the hull together and at this stage drill a few holes and add the propellers. Going on to step 2, and some of these steps are actually quite big and in other kits probably would have been multiple steps in themselves. As you'd expect, there's almost 1,000 parts in this special edition kit. So anyway, step 2, you're putting the 3 main turrets together, and you're also putting together some of the main superstructure as well. And step 3, as you can see, you're continuing with more of the main superstructure, adding lots and lots of small parts. Step 4, we're adding the funnels to more superstructure, also starting with cranes and masts and some of the ship's boats. At this stage I'm just going through the plastic version of the kit without the extra parts, and then we'll talk about the brass and the resin at the end. But again, lots of small parts being added in there. Okay, step 5, and this is dealing with lots of small parts. Basically you're adding the ventilators to the deck, and they're all colour coded, and there's also little arrows on here to show exactly which way the ventilation, the opening, should be pointing, which is a pretty neat step. Step 6, we're starting to add some of the parts we built earlier. A couple of the main turrets go on, some of the superstructure goes onto the ship. So basically it's starting to look like a ship at last. Step 7, we're adding the ship's boats to the main part of the superstructure that we built. It's still a separate assembly, and the funnel and the ship's cranes are all going in here. So basically taking some of the sub-assemblies we've made, putting those together to make a larger assembly that we're going to do something with in a minute. Step 8 might be one of the easier ones, putting a couple of large superstructure assemblies onto the hull. And again with step 9, we're adding large superstructure assemblies onto the hull, including the aft main turret as well. And as always seems to be, there's a few small parts being snuck in there as well at the same time. Step 10, right at the aft of the ship, adding some anti-aircraft guns. Noting those look like the 20mm, which is a good move since they were part of the very last changes made to the Prince of Wales before she headed off to the Pacific. So seeing those there is means Flyhawk have got their details right. Step 11, and as we finish off these last steps, we've got less work for each step. Some of those first steps had a huge amount of parts in them. Anyway, step 11, we're adding life rafts, and step 12, we're also adding more life rafts. Step 13, yes, more life rafts going on. Step 14, as you can see here, guess what? More life rafts are going on. And then finally down to step 15, yet again, more life rafts and various flotation devices. The last little bit is the 1/700th Supermarine Walrus that was on the Prince of Wales. We reviewed a set of these elsewhere on YouTube and on the website. And they're little kits in their own right, really. 9 parts in total, which is a lot for building one 1/700th single-engine aircraft. So they're pretty neat. The only bit I'll add on to this is at the bottom of this instruction at the back, it mentions the wooden deck and the masking sheet that's available. And also down there you'll see that HMS Legion and HMS Kelly are mentioned in there as well. So hoping that we'll see those in the near future. And step 16, if you want to call it that, is the paints and decals. Decals, you've got a small decals sheet with the Royal Navy ensign on it, and the colours all look nice. You've got the colour scheme as she was when she arrived in Singapore, so this is the correct colour scheme for the period they're depicting, December 1941, and the colours are called out by name. Mr. Hobby, Tamiya and White Ensign as well. So everything looks pretty good there, and yeah, it's an interesting camouflage scheme, so making that part of your build, that'll take a little bit of time. Okay, now let's go through the things that turn this into the special edition kit. So we start with the photo etch, and as usual these things like the ship's cranes, the funnel caps, parts on the masts, and then over the page we've got other parts on the masts, and replaces some of the rigging on the Walrus is replaced with photo etch as well. Continuing on with the photo etch, this is a handy little chart showing exactly which piece of photo etch railing it goes where on the model. The A's and the B's on here and the C's refer to which of the 3 photo etch frets is used. So finally, before we have a conclusion, let's talk about the extras that are available to be purchased separately for this kit. We've got the wooden deck. You can see here, looks quite nice. There's subtle shading on the planks, so the planks are not all the same colour. And you also get, in addition to the main deck, There's 3 areas on the superstructure where deck will be visible, and those are also covered as well. So it looks quite nice, and it'll certainly save you some time and give you a really nice looking deck. Also to go with that is a masking set that you can see here. There's about 30 different masks on here, and obviously they cover all the main decks, and basically put those down, allow you to paint the superstructure pretty simply. Obviously depending on your workflow, maybe you paint everything before you fit it onto the hull itself. But if you build and then build everything then paint, this also will be a bit of a time saver for you. So an overall conclusion, with just the basic kit with over 600 parts, that easily makes it the most detailed 1/700th pincer whales on the market, and that's more than enough parts to keep most people happy. If you go for the special edition, there's over another 300 metal photo etch and resin parts to add to that as well, so it'd be quite an incredible build, both from the level of detail and probably the time taken, but you'd end up with something pretty special. You can also add on the masking sheets will save you a bit of time. The decks will save you a bit of time with painting and so on. So all in all, it's a pretty special kit. It's up to Flyhawk's usual really high standards, and it sort of goes maybe a little bit beyond anything they've done before. So it's a really awesome kit.